Peace and blessings, everybody. Welcome back. My name is Malcolm Lee. You're in the Wholesounds with me, and we got another important tutorial. This is for all of you who want to drop a song, but you do not want to wait to have it mastered. You don't have money to have it mastered, or maybe you just dropped an instrumental and it doesn't really need to be mastered. You just want to drop it. This happens to me a lot. Or maybe I'm working with somebody and I just recorded them. I just mixed down their song and they want to drop it ASAP on SoundCloud. They want to put it up to Spotify in a couple days. They don't feel like getting it mastered. So if you want to master your own stuff and drop it on a streaming site, stay tuned. Okay, so we have a song up here, Big Nasty. This is my brother from another mother right here.
Killers when they catch us, come again, who gon' protect us? I got issues, political issues.
I've been recording him forever, and we go
way back like a Cadillac with 4 flats. Or is it 4 flats on a Cadillac?
Like I said, this better not be no bullshit.
All right, nonetheless, this is his song. We got to open it up. We have it opened up in Studio One's, in a Studio One project, which is very convenient for mastering. And I have my mastering chain up here. There's actually a lot that I put on here. Sometimes I don't use all of these plugins, but I thought that this was a good song to show you. One, because I love this song from the bottom of my heart. And two, because it pretty much shows like all the mastering plugins I use, so it makes me look a little bit cooler, you know. Okay, so this is the song down here. I just wanted to show y'all. You can see that it's a pretty dynamic mix. Not too dynamic, pretty good mix. You can see that nothing's clipping, so you can see the song right here. But what we're gonna do, we're gonna drag this down so that we can see what we're doing on the post processing. Okay, so first thing that I do, let's start this song from the Jump Street. All right.
Woo! Black power this, black power that. Yeah. Black power this, black power that. Yeah. Feel my pain. I got problems on my mind heavy. And I'ma do whatever's necessary.
We'll fast forward it a little bit.
Retribution, George Stinney falsely accused, died from electrocution. What? But this the land of the free, huh? Where freedom ain't cheap, but you could get that for.
Okay, so first thing you'll notice is I have a Fab Filter EQ that is turned off right now, so it's bypassed. I actually use this when I'm listening to mixes, and what I'll do is I'll just make a filter. I'll grab both of those. I'll play my song.
Making headlines, another
turn it on, and then that way I'll just be able to listen to the different frequencies in my beat. So let's go ahead and turn off all of the processing right now, and we'll keep this meter on right now. So one thing that I noticed was it gets real tinny right up here, like right when we start getting to the 4K. Other than that, everything sounds pretty even. I just sweep the frequencies, and then when I hear something that is just really bothering me, I'll just make a mental note of that. So that 4K range was a little too much for me, so I made a mental note of that. We're gonna make a mental note of that. So next thing in the rack is a VBC rack. All right, and this is a Slate digital plugin, and it's solid. It has 3 compressors all together, and what I did was I had my first compressor relatively faster attack on the faster side and a very fast release. I like to do fast releases when I'm working with this first compressor. The high pass filter, I turned that off, so you can actually filter out the low end so that your kick drum is not compressing the signal. But in this case, I wanted the kick drum to get compressed and just make it a tiny bit more snappy, which is why there's like a fast-ish release not as fast as it could be, and very fast release and a fast-ish attack. So let's listen and see what it's doing. I'll turn that on. And there's actually 3 compressors here. So that compressor right here, this one,
and I'ma do whatever's necessary. Come on, nigga, ain't nothing.
It's just getting some of the kick, but it's really only getting the kick. It's really only getting the kick when the kick and the 808 are hitting together. This one, you can see that I actually have my high pass filter on, so there's no bass that's actually compressing on this compressor. This is more getting the snare and some of the vocals. So let's look at this one.
Thinking you gon' creep on me? Will I make the headlines if they try to give me fit time?
So I said it's not getting the kick, or I should say it's not getting the sub, it's not getting the bass, but it is getting the upper register of the kick, which is actually helping with the snappiness since there's a slower attack than this up here. The release is still relatively slow for a master, but I was playing with it and I felt like it kind of like smoothed it over, kind of sounded real nice with this release right here. So and this last one is this last one's like a Fairchild compressor. It's a it's kind of a tube compressor. It gives it more you know what I'm saying? It gives it that butter. So what I do is I just bring my threshold down just so it's compressing a little bit.
Will I make the headlines?
So I can get some tone. So let's A and B it.
If they coming down in my prime, will I make the headlines? I'm just caught up in injustice. Every day I'm still here, breathing is a blessing. And no, I won't go quietly, I'm too invested. Looked at the news, oh my God, wow. Black man ain't even safe in his grandma's backyard now.
Much fatter. And I have no makeup gain on any of these. And it just fattens up the signal. And I just love this VBC rack. It's very important to me. Like, I could not live without it. It's on pretty much all of my masters ever since I got the Slate Digital plugins. All right, so moving on. Next, we have our fab filter. And with this fab filter, you notice that 4K range, I brought that down a little bit, which was a little harsh. So I just brought that down a little bit. And then I did middle side processing, and you can see on the sides, I cut out all of my sub frequencies. So what middle side is doing is it means it's only cutting out the frequencies on the far left and it's keeping the mono frequencies all intact. So let's listen to this one. It's a little harder to tell the difference from the VBC rack, but let's listen to it anyway.
I saw a black man say ain't no more racism. Boy, what the 5 fingers say to the face, nigga? Vietnam got reparations, and so did the Jews. But they treat niggas like we just stepped out to primordial ooze. MAGA hat wears wanna slap me.
Okay, so moving on, we have the Fab Filter multi-band compressor, which is this one that sometimes I use, sometimes I don't use it. In this case, I thought that it really glued everything together and it gave it more of a polished sound. It kind of brought everything together, kind of like made everything family, you know. It was like everything was running every which way. This kind of made everything like family. It like brought everything together. So let's go ahead and A and B it, and I'll talk about what I did.
They say slavery over, nigga, you should just be happy. Not exactly, I have to acknowledge myself. Can't be ignored, boy, because I got knowledge of self. And that's really all I got to soothe me, cause life, it ain't no movie.
So I feel like it kind of puts the vocals into the track, and then it just gives the beat a little bit more presence. So let's see what I did. So the multi-band compressor, I used 4 bands. On this bottom band, really I noticed that my low end was peaking my limit, was peaking my meters, which we'll get to. So the low end, I went ahead and I compressed it at a 5-to-1 ratio, a somewhat fast attack. The release, I kept it where it was.
Oh, let me stop before my hat turned to a kufi, cause
and you'll notice
got problems on my mind heavy.
You'll notice that this compressor is really compressing the bass. That's kind of what the reason why I put it on. My mid-range, my like lower mid-range to true mids, I
And I'ma do whatever's necessary.
had a very slow attack and a fast release, because this is where our kick drum was hitting. If you noticed on the VBC rack, the kick drum, you could still hear it above 150, and that's like the punch of the kick and like a lot of the punch of the track. So I wanted to keep that intact. So I did a slow release, a slow attack, a fast release, and 4-to-1 ratio. So it's compressing, you know, we not scared.
Necessary. Come on, nigga, ain't nothing weak on me. You must be geeking, thinking you gon' creep on me.
Next up, from 1000 to about 4500, where that sibilant frequency was. So this is really our vocal presence right here. This is where our vocals stay. So I compressed it a little bit smaller, like 1.8 to 1. I had a relatively slower attack, not slow, but slower than the other ones, kind of similar to this one. And that's because I wanted to make sure that my vocals were coming through and they weren't being compressed. It was a little bit less noticeable. And then the attack, the release, I kind of kept it the same, kept it at 20%, which is relatively quick, and it keeps a little bit of aggression to the vocals, but still smooths it out. So let's listen to this again.
I make the headlines if they try to give me fit.
And then the last one, I just did same thing. I did a 2-to-1 ratio, a very fast release, just because it was the upper frequencies where the hi-hats are hitting. So I don't want to make sure that it drops. The compressor stops after the hi-hats to make sure that you can hear all the hi-hats. And yeah, that's that multiband. Let's A and B it again.
Time. Will I make the headlines if they coming down in my prime? Will I make the headlines?
Okay, then this is another plugin, the center, that I have on every single one of my masters. And what I do is I go my low end, I make it completely mono. And then the high end, sometimes I go like 100% to the sides. In this case, I went at 89. This really gives your song a stereo width to it. It makes the song wide. It makes the song sound big, sound larger by panning things to the sides. And it's actually pretty important. And you'll see why. You'll see why size is more important than volume nowadays. And like I said, we're gonna get to that a little bit later. So I'll A and B this.
I'm just caught up in injustice. Every day I'm still here, breathing is a blessing. And no, I won't go quietly. I'm too invested. Black power this, black power that.
Really gives your song a lot of space. Space is a great thing. So another one of my go-to plugins. I've been using this one for years on my master bus, the SSLG channel. Probably sometimes when I'm doing my mastering plugins and I'm changing my parameters, a lot of times I'm just thinking about the SSL, and I'm just thinking like I cannot wait to start touching the SSL. Sometimes I'll leave out certain things, like on the first EQ, the FabFilter EQ, I won't do certain things because I know that the SSL is coming, right? Sometimes on the VBC rack, I won't compress as hard because I know the SSL channel strip is coming. All right, so what I always do is I turn up some of the bass. Not scared, turned it up a lot actually. The reason being is that he recorded this on an MP3 that he downloaded. So I already know that the MP3 got super compressed. The beat got super compressed. So I just like to add a little bit back. Make sure that it's going to rumble in the speakers and the subwoofers and whatnot. So do that. I felt that there was a little bit of mid-range lacking, so I gave it a little tiny bit of mid-range, like right there around 300 hertz, which helped to round out the sound. Then this frequency right here is the vocals. This is like the vocal presence, which we've seen in the multi-band compressor. So this is about what, 2K? This is really where the vocals live, and this is one of my favorite reasons for using the SSLG channel, is to like really pinch the vocals and just really bring them out make them nice and present. And I thought that this song had a lot of high end, so I actually took out a little bit of high end at 16K. And then I took out everything under 20 hertz. I did a little high pass filter at 20 hertz. Turn my compressor to 1.6, a very little bit of compression, a small ratio. And then I just brought it down just so it was compressing a little bit. Every now and then it'll hit 3 decibels of compression. So let's A and B it.
I got problems if they coming down in my prime. Will I make the headlines? I'm just caught up in injustice. Every day I'm still here, breathing is a blessing. They know.
I love this thing. You can see this is where I add probably most of my volume, the SSL channel, as well as my limiters, where most of my volume gets added during my mastering. So this is pretty much the mastering right here. This is like all the fine tuning. And then I like to just add a little bit of tape saturation, and then, so I like the Abbey Road's vinyl. So let's see what I did with this.
I won't go quietly, I'm too invested. I don't want a revolution, I need retribution. George Stinney falsely accused, died from electrocution. But this the land of the free, huh? Where freedom ain't cheap, but you could get that.
Really smooths it out. It takes away some of the really fast transient data, and it just tames everything, and it just really polishes it over. And I really like that sound. Makes it less sandpapery and just smooths it out, makes it a finer grit of sandpaper. And then the virtual tape machine, I really like this. I really love it on bass. I really love it on the low end. It gives a really beautiful saturation to the low end that I just can't get enough of. So let's go ahead and find a spot where there's some bass hitting.
Watch for suggestions, bad apps, because they was with you in the trenches when it was 14 inches. Still don't mean they want your best interest. Might be bitter like citrus, I'm tired of it. How we gonna stop violence, but y'all keep putting us in this environment? Lessons, watch for suggestions, bad advice. I have niggas that you mess with. They might be messy just because they was with you in the trenches when it was 14 inches. Still don't mean they want your best.
It just makes it mean. Just makes it sound mean. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right, moving on to the L2. So let's go ahead and look at what we're doing with that. L2, I'm just
best interest might be bitter like citrus. I'm tired of it. How we gonna stop violence, but y'all keep putting us in this environment? The land of the free, huh? Where freedom ain't cheap, but you could get that for a fee, huh? Making headlines, another black man being shot down. Like a dog in the streets, Mr. Police, we are not hounds. I feel like that.
So this is my limiter. I'm just bringing it up a little bit. I added a lot in the SSLG channel. And I want to drop this on Spotify. All right. And Spotify calls for a certain amount of levels. All right. So Spotify wants your LUFS, the long-term peaks. It wants it to be -14. And if it's higher or louder than -14, then Spotify is going to put its own limiter on your song and is going to turn it down. And the limiter is not going to be as good as a limiter that you have in your DAW. All right, so we do not want Spotify to limit our stuff. And you can look online if you're dropping it on YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes, wherever you're going to release your song. They have different settings, all right? So we're gonna follow those settings. So I wanna keep this under -14 or as close to -14 as possible without going over. And then the true peak right here, it wants -1. So what you do with this is we play the entire song, and then after the song is done, we'll read what's going on here.
Black power this, black power that, yeah. Black power this, black power that, yeah. Feel my pain.
So I've actually already done that and read that, and it's going to be -14 right here, and then it's going to be -1 right here. I have a true peak limiter on it because it was actually -0.7, which means that I was 0.3 decibels louder than what Spotify wanted. So I just put this limiter on it again, one more limiter, just to get that that last 0.3 out of it. And that is pretty much my mastering chain. I really hope it helps. I hope you enjoyed the song. If you do, look up the brother Big Nasty. This is how you spell it right here, Nastae. And enjoy the rest of your day mixing and whatnot. So once again, my name is Malcolm Lee. You're in the Wholesounds, and we just went over my mastering chain. Glad I can help. Hopefully I did. All right, y'all. One love. Happy mixing. Peace.